our world has become a potentially worse place because of many contributing factors towards our society. And I believe one of the biggest factors of that would be the apparent drug abuse and alcoholism within our American society, as I'm sure many of you already understand. This problem has become a consistent mess in this age, and I feel like it must be addressed for pretty much every audience out there. So I, Asher Reich, will attempt to explain how our society has begun to collapse because of drug addiction and alcoholism within pretty much all groups of people. In order to analyze this, I think it's best to look into the history of the matter. And while we can't definitively point at a certain subject and say that this is the root cause, I believe one of the biggest contributing factors would be the war on drugs. Around the time between the 1970s, many different drugs were being used among different communities. Opium became more of a prominent drug used amongst the people shortly after how it was used for medicinal purposes among the wars and soldiers. And this didn't really stop with just opium. Heroin became a constant problem, cocaine became a new subject to use, and more drugs, more potent than the last, became even worse for this economy. Heck, even big businesses like, say, Coca-Cola began dabbling with the drug market, putting actual cocaine in their beverages. And it was up to one person, President Richard Nixon, who proclaimed that the drug abuse was public enemy number one. And he, along with the rest of the government, were taking as many legal actions as they could to put a stop to this. And as the current years went by, we got to see more examples of how they were trying to tackle this problem, not just as a country, but more of a worldwide pandemic. Similar to that of COVID, but much worse. Or possibly better, depending on what group you're in. Schools began taking initiative by teaching kids the dangers of these drugs, and even sources of entertainment tried to do their best to make sure they didn't fall for the sin of man. Such as with arcade cabinets, which include a certain watermark that said, "Winners don't use drugs," to convince the little kids to stay as far away from them. The arcade cabinets at the time were, say, Pac-Man or whatnot. You'd boot the game and then you see this watermark that would appear on screen. The watermark was colored when I was trying to print it, but I accidentally used a black and white printer. And there's a reason behind all this action. Drugs can cause negative effects to people, both physically, mentally, and, well, I get the point. It's a bad thing. It hurts a lot of people. Based on the research in the 2020s, around 70% of Americans aged between 12 and over, well, they end up with this sort of substance use disorder, and around 10% of the Americans struggled with the drinking disorder. And the causes of addictions have become much worse as the years have gone by, ranging from mental disorders and environmental factors, say like the cool kids in the back alleys and whatnot, to even the point where it's gotten so bad it's reached the point of genetics. Apparently, children can be born addicts based on their heritage. It's gotten that bad. So, drug abuse and alcoholism, what exactly does it cause? It can cause families to break up, like say, taking actions that you don't normally do, but it causes you to become mentally insane and deteriorate your brain. Like say, robbing a bank or stealing a person's car or mugging someone in the back alley or even sexual actions that I don't want to really cover. They can also negatively affect a child's life, such as ruin their school society or school life, or cause family members to drift apart even further. It can also ruin your chances at a future, like say getting this job you want, or trying to fix a problem you started, or pay off college bills or whatnot. And because of the chaos that was caused by this societal war around maybe 50 years ago, it's been a while, the United States has been struggling to put things back together, and around 2011, the government had decided that this can't exactly be a problem solved worldwide. So we've been trying to focus on fixing this as a country more than just a complete pandemic. And yes, children can sometimes overlook the dangers behind this usage of drugs, but that's the reason why schools are trying to warn them of this. It's not because they're adults and they know best. It's to explain to them that they could ruin their lives permanently. And honestly, I know from personal experience about a few kids that have made the wrong choice, and I just hope that one day this war on drugs will finally come